Right now, the seas are quiet, the skies are empty, and our roads less traveled. But it's only a matter of time before the world starts moving again. And when it does, there is one source to count on for all your travel needs. We are Expedia Cruises, and we are more than just cruise vacations. Whether it's custom vacation packages, tours, all-inclusive resorts, or flights, hotels, and activities, we are here to plan, book, and safeguard every leg of your journey. Visit ExpediaCruises.com and we will help you secure your travel by phone, online, or at an Expedia Cruises location in your neighborhood, where you can get the advice you seek, no matter what your dream vacation might be, air, land, or sea. Expedia Cruises, air, land, and sea vacations.
All right, hello everybody, and welcome to the Expedia Cruises Explore the USA event. My name is Josie Rubino, and I manage all of the land vacation supply for Expedia Cruises North America. Now, first off, I want to thank all of you for taking the time to be here today for what is going to be a wonderful event. We have 3 fantastic supplier partners joining us about some of the product that they offer right in your backyard. But before I bring them out and introduce them, I'm going to quickly review some housekeeping tips with all of you, all right? First up, if you have any sort of technical issues, please just try logging out and logging back in again. Many times it's just a small technical glitch, and by logging out and in, it fixes itself. Number 2, if you want to change the view of your screen and what you're seeing, you can adjust your view with the view icon on the top of your screen, all right? If you are on a browser, you may not have this option, unfortunately. Number 3, this event is going to be recorded, or it is being recorded, sorry, and will be available within 24 hours to your vacation consultant. So if there is some reason that you have some technical issues and you're not able to watch the whole thing, or if you have to jump off early, or if it's just so good that you want to watch it again, you can just reach out to your vacation consultant and they'll be happy to send you the link for the recording. And you, of course, can share that with all of your friends and family as well. And then the final tip for you guys here today is if you have any questions, what we've decided to do is not turn on the live Q&A. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your vacation consultant and they'd be happy to answer those questions for you. Now, don't worry if you do not have a vacation consultant yet. If you go to Expedia Cruises website, you can enter your question there and a vacation consultant will reach out to you. All right, that is it for the housekeeping. Now, really quickly, I just wanted to take note of something. So many of you may not be aware, but last year we shortened our name and we rebranded from Expedia Cruise Ship Centers to Expedia Cruises. And we added the tagline, Air, Land, and Sea Vacations. We strongly believe that this new brand really speaks to who we are. Full service travel agencies right in your local community that service all of your vacation needs, however and whenever you like to book. What's more is that when you book with an Expedia Cruises location, not only do you get amazing Expedia prices and product selection, you're also going to experience the service of a local vacation consultant. Travelers, these are travelers that are right in your local community. They could even be your next door neighbor. And they're going to provide you with advice you can trust and support before, during, and after your vacation, which I think is a really great transition as to why we're here today. And that is to provide you with information to help you find your inspiration. Oh, I love that I'm going to say this. I'm going to laugh at myself. We're here to help you find information, provide you with information to help you find your inspiration for your next American vacation. How good was that? This amazing country has so much to offer, from the majestic landscapes of Alaska to the historical towns of the South. You guys have got so many vacation options right in your own backyard. So with that, we have a really exciting agenda prepared for you today. And so I think we should go ahead and get started. So you can see here, we have three suppliers that are going to be joining us. We've got Jim Marini from Amtrak Vacations and Rail Bookers. We have Kathleen Levy from Insight Vacations. And then we have Josh Hepp from Trafalgar. So with that, I think it is time to get started. And we're going to go ahead and bring Jim Marini on. Welcome, Jim. Thank you so much for being here.
All right. Thank you so much for having me, and excited to be here. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are all located. Today, my portion is to talk about Alaska by rail and beyond. And here's my question for each and every one of you joining us. Do you have a special anniversary, a special birthday, a special occasion coming up? Well, why not travel to the last great frontier? And that's going to be a big highlight of my portion of today. But for those of you who may not be as familiar with Amtrak Vacations and Rail Bookers, as we move to the next slide, just wanted to give everyone a little overview. Amtrak Vacations, this is all of our great trips where literally you can travel as early as tomorrow, or literally from today up to 2023, from 3, 4, 5-day weekend, week-long getaways to 1 and 2 weeks long across the country, out to some of the beautiful national parks. And any of our trips can be customized. That also includes Rail Bookers. Rail Bookers, we offer Alaska by rail as well as throughout the rest of the world. And if you look at the bottom of the brochures, folks, any trip can be customized from start to finish. So even during the trip, in the middle of your vacation, if you want to add extra days, go visit family or friends along the journey, if you want to just get out of your houses and go somewhere great, you can do that with either of our brands. Now, I did want to share some exciting news with all of you as it relates to our maximum flexibility offer, which is on the next slide, folks. This right here really will give all of you that peace of mind to be able to plan today and travel, whether it's as early as 2021 or anytime in 2022. Any new reservations that you make through your Expedia Cruises vacation consultant before June of this year, if you did need to change your date, whether you're planning to travel later this year or next year, we are waiving any and all change and cancellation fees. Basically, in a nutshell, we have overwritten our change and cancellation policy. Now, what does Amtrak Vacations and Rail Bookers offer? As we go to the next slide, folks, we can pretty much do it all. And you know who puts it together for you? Your Expedia Cruises vacation consultant. From confirm seat reservations, sightseeing activities, hotels, you get to choose between 3, 4, or 5-star hotels, all on the same trip if you choose. Also, ferries, excursions, overnight rail journeys, and Expedia Cruises can also even book flights for all of you as well. But today we are here to talk about Alaska by rail. So let's move on to the next slide. And right here, folks, if you take a look, this is Alaska Railroad. And a little fun trivia for all of you. It is train travel during the day. It either goes northbound or southbound. And Expedia Cruises can book flights for you into the great cities of Fairbanks or Anchorage, where then you begin your journey. Now, if we go to the next slide, what's great about Alaska Railroad, folks, is you have 2 different categories to choose from. Our main category is adventure class, but as my good friend Josie, I'm sure would agree, consider upgrading to Gold Star service. This is the premium level that you have the big glass dome windows in. This is the level where all of your meals are included as you travel from one great destination to another. You also have your own private outdoor viewing platform. You have your own personal tour guide with you during the day, and you have your own private bar where 2 complimentary adult beverages are included. As we go to the next slide too, folks, this trip right here is certainly one not to miss out on. Now, we have several different packages to choose from, but all of our trips are all independent style vacations. So if we go to the next slide, this will give you a better example of what independent style vacations are. As an example, in Anchorage, after you spend a good night's rest at whatever hotel you decide to stay at. The next day, you are treated for a trolley tour, and you get to go whenever you want. It operates every hour upon the hour. You see, we don't have as much structure on our tours because it's whatever structure you want. We may have days where you may have a full day guided tour or a half a day guided tour, and we're going to get to that. As I go to the next slide, too, folks, this right here is a great highlight because on one of the days, here's an example where you'll have a nice half a day tour. And this is a boat cruise cruising the Kenai Fjords, where you'll have a local tour guide with you for a portion of the day, and lunch is included. Now, after you travel to Seward for this great Kenai Fjords tour, you then travel to one of my favorite areas on the next slide. And you know what that is, folks? It is Talkeetna. Population only about 1,000 people, known for some of their quaint little country style shops and stores, great pubs. Also, what you're looking at right here is Denali National Park in the background. Look at that, folks, where you can even take advantage of an optional high-speed boat cruise on Mayhay's jet boat. But I have 3 words: when in Alaska. Take a look at the next slide, folks. Yes, dog sledding. For any of you who want to experience that authentic Alaskan experience, this is offered as an optional excursion from Talkeetna. It's about a 2-hour option. They pick you right up, right from the front doorsteps of your lodge. You have a demonstration, and folks, you even get to mush your own team of dogs. From there, it's then traveling on board back on Alaska Railroad as you travel north onto the next slide, folks, which guess what? You arrive about 8 miles away from Denali National Park. And this is your home for the evening. And folks, here's the best part. Many of our packages stay here for 2 nights, 3 nights, 4 nights. You get to customize and personalize any trip you want. Do you know there's only 46 cedar wood cabins in this area itself? And they'll even make you prepared box lunches during your free days for any of you who want to go explore on your own. You get to decide. But the real highlight is on the next slide, and that, of course, is Denali National Park. There's 2 words I have heard more than ever in the last year and a half that I've heard my entire 25 years in the industry. You know what those 2 words are, folks? Open spaces. You want to travel to an area where there's lots of open spaces? Denali National Park, over 6 million acres, with the highest point being Mount McKinley. And let's not forget about the wildlife. Here's the best part, folks. Again, maybe some of you were originally planning to go on a cruise, and why not consider rail in place of sail? You could travel as early as June, July, August, and September of this year. And yes, you can even pan for gold. Now, the title of my portion of my presentation is called Alaska by Rail and Beyond. So if we go to the next slide, folks, take a look at this map. We operate Amtrak Vacations. And a little fun trivia for all of you. Do you know in the year 2019, over 33 million people traveled on board Amtrak, over 33 million people. So if Amtrak was an airline, it would actually be the 6th largest airline in the United States. Now, here's a question I have for each of you today. Do you not like to fly? Do you not like to drive? Or you're looking for something different? Maybe you want to visit family, friends across the country. You can start at any of the 500 Amtrak stations in the United States. If we go to the next slide, folks, here's some of our trips that are trending fantastic for us. And before I highlight that, guess what? When you travel on board the train and you overnight, you can upgrade to a private sleeper where all of your meals are included. This right here is a bedroom, which also includes its own private toilet, shower, and vanity inside the room. Now, as we go to the next slide itself, folks, I did want to mention one of my personal favorite destinations, Glacier National Park. Do you know there's over 1 million acres at Glacier National Park? And if you look at the top right-hand corner, folks, that is the Amtrak station. And if you look at the bottom right-hand corner, that is Glacier Park Lodge. That lodge is only about 209 steps away from the train station. Location, location, location. Next slide, if we can, go to the next one, and that is the Grand Canyon. Now, unlike Glacier National Park, everyone, the Grand Canyon is open all year round from January through December, considered to be one of the 7 wonders of the world. And speaking of the number 7, over 7 million visitors back in 2019. you get to travel on the Grand Canyon Railway in the top right-hand corner from Williams to the south rim of the Grand Canyon, and you also get the chance to stay at some of those iconic lodges. And again, your Expedia Cruises vacation consultant can help you. So the last slide I want to show everyone before I turn it back over to my good friend Josie is a trip that highlights multiple national parks all in one trip. This is our Grand National Parks that includes Yellowstone, Yosemite, and the Grand Canyon. And folks, I did want to mention one last item. Right here, right now, until May 21st, any of you that book through your local Expedia Cruises vacation consultant with a small deposit of only $250, whether it's traveling to Alaska, that last great frontier as early as June, July, August, and September of this year or next year, or any of these fantastic national parks in the continental USA, if your trip is between 3 to 6 nights, you will earn $300 per couple. If it's 7 to 9 nights, you will earn $400 per couple. And if it's 10 or more nights, you will earn $500 per couple. And that can be used towards upgrading your trips whatever way you choose. So with that in mind, folks, thank you so much for your time here today. And it is back to you, Josie. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you so much, Jim. That was absolutely fantastic. I don't know where I want to go first. I'm thinking Alaska and that the Denali cabins. That looked amazing. It's my kind of place. All right. So if we move to the next slide here, next up we have our friend Kathleen from Insight. Hi, Kathleen. How are you? Welcome.
Good. How are you? I'm really excited.
Perfect. I'm going to turn the floor right over to you, and you can go ahead and jump right into your presentation. Thank you so much.
It sounds great. Let's go ahead and move to the first slide. So Insight Vacations. Insight Vacations has been around 100 years. We celebrated 100 years last year. We were supposed to have a big party, but of course that didn't happen. So a lot of people probably say, who the heck is Insight Vacations? But I'm going to show you why we're a great company to go with and really see the great USA. And I have to say, we're back traveling already, which is pretty exciting. Next slide, please. So just a little bit about me. I'm Kathleen Levy. I've actually been with this company for 18 years. I do call Houston home, and that's supposed to be a picture of me there, but you know, I just think the sketch David's a little more attractive, so I always take him out and put that in. Next slide. But I did want to talk to you about our promise, and next slide, and what we're doing right now to keep you safe and to keep everything great. So one of the things that you've said us is that you want to partner somebody to travel with that cares about you, and that is us. Next slide, please. And so one of the things I want to say is, as I said, 100 years, is we're part of the Travel Corporation. And after me, you're going to hear from Josh, who's also a part of the Travel Corporation. But one thing that's really great about this is it's a family-owned company. So we've been around, we have no debt, we're not going anywhere. So you can feel very comfortable that your money is protected and your money is safe. Also, we have many different brands. So let's say, for example, you thought you were going to do a river cruise, and obviously you can't do a river cruise right now. You can transfer those funds over and do a great tour of the USA right now. Next slide. So where kind of do we fall in the marketplace? Just to give you a little idea, Insight Vacations is a premium brand, and I'm going to show you why. And we also have luxury gold, which I'm not really going to go into tonight, but we do have a luxury product as well, which we stay more in 5-star hotels and just a little bit more of that upscale. Next slide, please. You travel with us. Some of the things that I'm going to just tell you why is all of the experiences we offer, our dining where we're eating in local restaurants, how we travel and stay, our smaller groups, which I'll speak about, and how we really do make travel seamless and stress-free. I think that's what you especially want now at the end of this pandemic. Next slide. So what are some differences? So let's talk about when you go to the Grand Canyon with us. You go to the Grand Canyon and we include Monument Valley. We take you out to Monument Valley with a local Navajo guide. So what a great experience. And you learn about the spirituality of the rocks. When I was out there, I thought, oh, you know, this is beautiful. But just to hear what the Navajos feel about it. It's a totally different experience. And we have a wonderful lunch out there. Totally makes a difference on what you're looking at than just driving around on your own. Next slide. And another great thing we do is when we're at the Grand Canyon, we stay right at the Grand Canyon Lodge, right in the Grand Canyon. And that first night, when we go out there, we sit along the edge of the canyon wall with a geologist, and we call him Canyon Tim. And my first thought was, oh my God, it's going to be so boring. He's going to talk about rocks. But he was fascinating. He talked about how the canyon was made and what's going to happen to it, quite frankly, if we don't take care of it. So he was very interesting. And of course, what a beautiful evening. And we have dinner right there with the sunset coming in, and just picture perfect evening. Next slide. And here's some other great experiences. How about going to California with us and going to Yosemite? You can relax and you can take in the beauty with a ranger-led tram tour of the valley floor. We go to Salinas and you learn about the agriculture and how the migrant workers are doing the agriculture for us. And then, of course, it wouldn't be a great experience if you didn't go to Paso Robles and have a tour and a tasting at a fabulous local winery. Next slide, please. And there's a beautiful winery. And then how about going to Niagara Falls with us and doing a journey behind the falls if you're up to it, or if you want something a little more sedentary. We do visit a local winery and it's attached to a monastery. And what's funny for me is it may be attached to a monastery, but we have a local tasting of ice wine. So you have your choice of going behind the falls, you will get wet, or visiting that monastery and for that ice wine. So we have what we call insight choice. Always choices, something more sedentary or something more active, depending on how you feel that day. Next slide. And then let's talk about dining. So this is my favorite part of my company. Every trip we have a welcome dinner. We also have a highlight dinner. And then we have a dinner at the end of your trip, a celebration dinner. And you see that lobster up there? Yes, you're going to have lobster. If you go to New England with us, or you go to those maritime provinces as soon as they open, we will have that lobster. Next slide. But this is a very fun one. So on that Grand Canyon one that I was speaking about, we start in Scottsdale, Arizona, and we go to the Tally Ho. Now, some of you may know who that picture is. It's Robert Wagner and Natalie Wood, and they were actually married at the Tally Ho. Now, of course, it's been totally redone since then. It now has a fabulous chef, and this is our welcome dinner. And that's kind of the dinners we have. So great, not just a cocktail, but a wonderful dinner. Next slide. And then how do we get around? So we're the only ones out there that were already social distancing before this all began. We're the only ones out there that only have 40 seats on our motor coaches. Look at that extra legroom. It is 100% more legroom, but I also want you to look at the picture window. How much more window space is there? So you don't have to lean over somebody to look out. Next slide. And I want to just kind of show you, a regular coach has 57. We've taken 13 seats out. It really does customize it. And of course, all of our coaches have a usable lavatory on board. But of course, we stop every 2 hours, except in the morning. We stop at an hour and a half because of coffee. But it really is a great experience. We also, you gain 1 hour more free time by going with me, because think about being in an airplane, being in first class and being in coach. How much quicker is it to get out of the front and the back? So you really do gain more time by traveling with us. Next slide. And as you can see, that picture window, of course, all of our coaches are state of the art. They have free Wi-Fi on board as well, so you can stay in touch with your friends and family back home. Also, we'll talk about a little bit in a little few minutes about what we're doing as far as the cleanliness. Keep going, please. And so where do we stay? We only stay in 4- and 5-star hotels throughout the US. And of course, when we go to the national parks, we stay in the lodges. This is Zion. We also stay in Bryce, Grand Canyon, Yellowstone, Mount Rushmore, Glacier. We're staying right in those park lodges. And if you were to do this on your own without going with one of our 3 companies that are going to be talked about tonight, you would be on a year's waiting list to stay in these lodges. And don't forget, with this pandemic, all these are closed, so there's pent-up demand. You really need to book now with your Expedia Cruise consultant to get these great experiences. Next slide. And of course, great, as I said, 4 and 5, Washington, D.C., right in the heart of Washington, D.C. at the Mayflower. Next slide. Or perhaps Lowe's Ventana Canyon. You want to play a couple rounds of golf before you start your trip. We can certainly set that up as well. Next slide. And then our travel directors. Our travel directors have to have at least 5 years experience, and they do little things, what we call flourishes, little things that are something reminiscent. One of my favorite ones is actually Canadian ones, which is Tim Horton Donuts, of course. And then in the US, just a little bit of specialty items around as you go. Next slide, please. Smaller groups. So for 2021 and 2022, now remember, I already told you about our coaches is a maximum of 40, but we are going to be offering smaller groups for 2022, a maximum of 22 guests. So if you really want that small group, we can do that. We also have travel in a bubble. You can take one of our itineraries. It's about a 30% upcharge. And if you have 12 or more, let's say you family or friends, you can make your own trip and make your own departure. So please work with your Expedia Cruise consultant to set this up. Next slide. So who travels on Insight? All ages, all levels, all types of people. If you're a solo traveler, we can take care of that. Next slide. Baby boomers. So all, as I said, all ages. Next slide. Foodies, because we have great meals on the ones we're included, and great wine tastings, of course. Next slide. Curious travelers, because this, by the way, is a beautiful, beautiful theater in LA that is not open to the public, but just look at this. This is a hand-painted curtain, one of the highlights. Next slide. And those that appreciate value, because you have so many inclusions, you're not going to be nickel to dime when you travel with us. Next slide. And of course, past premium, if you've been a cruise client and you can't go cruising in 2021 or 2022, you just don't want to be on a boat with 5,000 guests, think of our small group departures. Next slide. And then here's our national park trip. It is a bestseller. And as I said, beautiful 2 days in Lake Powell, right on the lake, of course, Grand Canyon, Canyonlands, Zion, Bryce. Next slide. And that one's in and out of Vegas, just in case you want to add a couple days of gambling. American Park Trails does the northern one, Mount Rushmore. We stay at Ucross, which is a fabulous Duke Ranch. You can do horseback riding if you'd like. Of course, Yellowstone and the Grand Tetons. Next slide. And one of the experiences is Crazy Horse. We take you up close and personal. You see that little ramp up at the top? We actually go up there. Most companies, you just look at it from the bottom, but you can't really get those great photos. We take you right up on top. Next slide. And Desert Escapes of California and Arizona. Next slide. Which does Palm Springs, Tucson, and of course goes to lots of national parks, beautiful area of the country. Next slide. And as I said, Insight Choice, where you might be able to climb a lighthouse or take a bicycle trip. Next slide. Boston, Cape Cod, and the islands. And once it's cruising again, you can add a cruise option to that. But what a great way to see our eastern seaboard. And of course, don't forget fall foliage coming this fall. Next slide. And we are committed to your well-being. We have hygiene and safety protocols already in place. Any trips that have 20 or more guests traveling will have a wellness director. That person will be there as well as your travel director. Next slide. And of course, our drivers have been trained. They will disinfect all handrails, door handles, air conditioned filters, seats, overhead lockers, hand sanitizer when you go on. And of course, as I said, those smaller groups, a maximum of 24. The big question will come up, do we need to have a vaccination? Right now, it's either a vaccination or a negative COVID test. And one of the reasons we need that is the national parks are requiring that. So either or, of course, we hope you get your vaccination so you'll feel very comfortable to travel. Next slide. What's the deals right now? We have called Get Back to What You Love. Please reach out to your Expedia Cruise consultants. You can save up to 15%. And we also have Go for the Gold on the luxury product as well. So great, great savings right now. Next slide. And I thank you for your time, and I look so much and seeing you on an Insight Vacations trip. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Kathleen. That was absolutely fantastic. So many great trips across the US. I always find it funny because I'm from Canada. This is where I live. I'm based in Vancouver. And, I've been to New York, I've been to Florida, I've been to, LA and Vegas, but I had no idea that there were so many beautiful scenic locations in the US. So I've loved seeing these presentations because I've really gotten to see the beauty of the United States, and I can't wait to actually see it live. All right, so next up we have from Trafalgar, my good friend Josh. Welcome, Josh. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Josie. Thank you. And I'm excited because I'm going to take you on a little journey around the country. So Trafalgar is all about tour differently. We want to make sure that while you're on trip with us, you have the best time, but also not having to worry about anything, and ultimately really feeling like you're connected to the destination. So if you move on here, you're going to find who Trafalgar is. We go to all 7 continents. We are a part of the Travel Corporation, like Kathleen mentioned. We've been around for 73 years, and TTC as a whole has been around for 100, which is exciting. We've won many awards, and what's really great about our team is we have operations teams all around the world, but also all around the country. So that way we can find the best experiences for you. So next here, we're going to talk about some of those experiences. So first, I'm going to show you a little bit about everywhere that we go around the U.S. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about what makes Trafalgar special. The first destination or theme I want to talk about is family fun, right? So next here, you're going to find this kind of a really cool ranch in Sedona. On the next slide, sorry, Priscilla, where it's all about having family fun. So you're going to find themed trips throughout Trafalgar, and one of those themes is family. It's meant to bring kids, parents, grandparents all together to have really amazing experiences. So this year, you can catch a thrilling ride through Sedona's Red Rock Country by these really cool kind of jeeps that you see there, where we finish in this really neat little historical town of Williams, where we actually have a Be My Guest. I'll talk a little bit about that later, with a local family. And a lot of times it's the local mayor of Williams, which is really exciting. And it's really learning about that old West cowboy country with your family in the middle of Arizona. It doesn't get better than that. But next, we also go to Hawaii, right? And this is a great opportunity to explore some of our national parks, because you might not think of a tour in Hawaii. But what's great about it, we'll visit Volcanoes National Park on the Big Island. We actually will visit 3 other islands on our Hawaii trips. And at Volcanoes National Park, we will bring local rangers so you can learn about the black sands. You can learn about how the islands became the islands with the magma and the lava and the volcanoes. It's a really, really wonderful trip. But next here, I would be remiss if I did not talk about the South. One of the great things about the national park system is that there's so many other things included in the national parks that people don't think about, from national monuments, memorials, national recreation areas. And in the South, we have a new trip, and it's all about following the trail of the civil rights of Martin Luther King. And what's great about it is that we worked with the Civil Rights Museum to make sure that we're following Martin Luther King Jr.'s kind of life, and also making sure we visit some of the great national monuments and memorials along the way. But next, we're going to go over to the East Coast, and we also visit some really cool national parks for fall colors in New England. One of those national parks that you can find with Trafalgar is Acadia National Park, and it's all about checking out the colors in the fall and really kind of having that quaint New England kind of travel style for a week or two. Next, you're going to find here the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. I absolutely love when we go to San Francisco, because this start or ends many of our trips. And it's actually a little tip for you, is the Golden Gate Bridge is actually a national recreation area. And we'll start around here, but we'll go off and visit Yosemite, the Redwoods. Maybe we'll go to the Pacific Northwest and visit some of the parks around Seattle, or even down south, down to LA. And next year, we're going to find, you'll see arches right on the screen. And what I love about our trips out west is we'll visit arches in Moab, Rocky Mountain National Park. We'll visit Zion, Bryce, Yellowstone, Grand Canyon, Canyonlands, Mesa Verde, sand dunes in Colorado, or White Sands National Park, which is the newest park up in New Mexico. We actually visit over 23 parks within the United States. There's an opportunity to find something fantastic. So next, you'll see the next slide. That's that beautiful arch in Moab. This is a really cool arch because what's great about it is our coach will bring us right to the beginning of the trail. It's a really simple and easy trail, but it's kind of hidden to find this delicate arch. They call it the delicate arch. And you can go, and it's like this big stone bowl in the middle of the desert. It's a beautiful place, and you find the delicate arch, as you can see on the screen. But next, don't forget about Alaska. I know that Jim was talking about Alaska, but Trafalgar, we visit Alaska too. And what's really great about it is we go really in depth in Denali. We include some train rides. We'll go off and visit some cool glaciers. We'll do wildlife viewing. We'll go gold mining. We actually go and do a Be My Guest, which you'll learn about soon, at a muskox farm. And some really cool, truly immersive experiences. But next year, on the next slide, we are going to talk a little bit what makes Trafalgar Trafalgar. And there's 4 things that you'll find on every trip. Be My Guest, dive into culture, hidden gems, and stays with stories. I'm going to talk about 3 of them because hidden gems are just little secrets that we like to put in. Our travel directors go out and search for some really cool things in each destination that they provide or show you on trips. So next year, we're going to talk about one of the Be My Guests. And this is in OO Farms in Hawaii, where we go to a working sustainable farm where it's all about organic growth. You get a really cool dining experience at this farm. These are the 2 owners of OO Farms. It's right in the jungly foothills of the mountains. And what's for dinner is what's picked that day. But we want to make sure that all of our Be My Guest programs are really unique to the location that we're going. We're visiting a really great family so we can support the communities, especially with COVID hitting a lot of communities. We want to make sure that we're helping drive them back up. So you'll find Be My Guests all over the country and world. Next year, you're going to find our dive into culture. And the man on the right-hand side, that's Stephen Yellowhawk. He is part of the Lakota Nation down in the Dakotas. And we go visit some of the parks down there. He actually comes and talks about what it's like growing up on the tribal reservation. He talks about his dream stories. He talks about what it's like growing up indigenous. So what I love to talk about Stephen Yellowhawk is because it's a whole family affair. You meet many of his family members. It started with his grandfather, some of the beadwork, everything that you see his grandfather made, which is amazing. But we have some really great indigenous programs across the country to make sure that we're supporting some of the local indigenous people around our country. But next, you're going to see our stays with stories. Now, we're going to provide excellent accommodation for all of our trips, but we also have our stays with stories program. And whenever you see that it's a stays with stories, it means it's a really iconic, beautiful place. And the one that you see here, this is actually the view from the hotel that we'll stay at. It's called the Ranch in the middle of Death Valley. And it's like a desert oasis, right? So it's had $100 million refurbishment recently. It's the perfect place to rest and recharge, sit by the pool, get an ice cream, or there's lots of like little fire pits that you can get a drink or dinner and just relax around the fire and just take in the view, because this is really what the national parks are about, which I love. Next year, I just want to kind of talk a little bit about our people. So every trip is going to have a travel director who's going to make sure that you don't have to worry about anything. They're concierge, so you can go on trip and not worry at all. We're going to have local specialists. Our local specialists are people from the place, like Stephen Yellowhawk, a park ranger, somebody from OO Farms, that are going to come and share their special community with you. You're gonna have a driver, right? And that's really important because they just drive you around and you don't have to worry about parking. You don't have to worry about traffic. You just sit, relax, look out the window and have some beautiful time just watching the world go by. And then finally, we have our well-being director. So on the next slide, I'll talk a little bit about a well-being director. And this is something new for 2021, but it's not on that slide, but that's okay. And our well-being director is going to make sure that all protocols for COVID, thanks, so all protocol for COVID is taken care of, because every region or state or city, they're all a little bit different. So you don't have to worry about, do I need my mask? Do I need to be distance? Do I need hygiene protocols, whatever it might be? We have somebody taking care of it for you. So then on the next slide here, we are going to find some of my favorite trips. So we have our coastal California in Big Sur. It's just about exploring the coast of California. It's really neat because we go off to some mussel farms for Be My Guest. We do a photography walking tour in San Francisco. We do a food tour in San Diego. It's a really neat trip. We have Welcome to Colorado. This is actually our first trip back from COVID. It's happening next month, and I'll be going on it. I'm really excited because I actually live here in Denver, Colorado. And this tour is just so amazing. It really hits some of the best national parks in the country. It visits some really cool local wineries, some really cool little railroads that we get to go off and visit through the mountains. It's an epic trip, and I live here. Next, you'll see Utah's Mighty 5 National Parks. So we're going to go visit all 5 parks, but this is an active trip. So it's all about the hiking and exploring on your own time. So we want to make sure you can go off and explore and hike to your heart's content. And I'm a big fan of this. And then next we have our Hawaiian trip. Or our Hawaiian Explorer trip rather. And we have multiple trips from 8 to 13 days for Hawaii. So it just depends on how long you want to go. And what's great is that all the airfare is included from island to island. And you get to see more than just one single island, beach, or resort. You'll go off to the Dole Plantation, Volcanic National Park, and some other really special spots too. So on the next slide here, this is our journey along the civil rights. Wow, thank you. Sorry. This is our journey along the civil rights trail that I talked a little bit about before. We actually created the trip in the South with the National Civil Rights Museum. So it's all it was all created with the help of the King family, which is super, super cool. We'll have a really great connect with local, and then we'll go off to Be My Guest with Miss Sandy Taylor, who's actually a superintendent of she's a retired superintendent of the National Park Service. So she gets to really talk about some really cool national park experiences that she's had that we absolutely love. All right, next here. This is worry-free travel. So this is all going to talk a little bit about our well-being that we talked a little bit before. And next, on the next slide, that's it. So thank you so much. And Josie, back to you.
All right, thank you. I don't know. I think I need to win the lottery because I want to go everywhere. I want to travel all over the United States. Everything just looks so beautiful. All right, you guys, I'm going to actually bring Kathleen and Jim back on. And we're going to have a quick little fireside chat. So what I've actually done is I've come up with a couple questions, and I've already told them what they are, so I'm not going to put them on the spot. But we haven't heard from Jim in a while, so we'll start off with Jim. Jim, I want to ask you, what customers need to know before their tour? If there's just one thing that they need to know, or maybe two, what would that be?
Absolutely. Folks, it depends on how you want to travel, but as I mentioned, with both of our brands, Amtrak Vacations or Rail Bookers, all available through Expedia Cruises, is just the flexibility that you have, the fact that you can personalize and customize any trip. Now, if you're looking to go to Alaska, folks, for those of you that have been there, I have family or friends that have been there, lots of daylight savings time. I always tell the story, seeing a husband and wife golfing, starting at 9 p.m. in the evening. So you may need to close the curtains at night to get a good night's sleep, but dress comfortable, dress casual, layered clothing, whether it's Alaska or even some of the national parks, because in the evening they can get to be a little cooler. But again, you can personalize any trip the way you want.
Perfect. Thank you. And you know what, Kathleen, I'm going to ask you the exact same question. There's one thing that a customer needs to know before their trip. What would that be?
It's casual. You don't need to dress up. And we're going to take care of you from start to finish. And your job is just to relax and have a good time. And I think we all need that relax right now. So it's just a great way to go. If I can only say one, that's what.
Oh, great. I like that. And how about you, Josh? What would you say?
Yeah, well, I definitely want to just reiterate what Jim said. Bring layers, because you might be going to the desert and it's 100 degrees in the day, and then at night it gets chilly. So bring your jackets. But I think the tip I'd like to give is just be flexible, right? Because during COVID, things might change really quickly. Or especially in the national parks, there's a lot of construction that's happening because it was kind of a downtime for COVID. And so I'll give you an example is Mesa Verde National Park with all the indigenous cliff dwellings here in Colorado. The big road is closed because they're redoing it for future generations. So it's just being flexible. We'll still go. It'll just be something a little bit different than maybe you read about online.
I like that. And you know what? I think we've all learned how to be flexible in the last year. So that should be no problem at all. All right. I've got one more question for you guys, and I'm going to start with Kathleen. All right. So if you had to pick one tour or one destination in the United States, what would be your favorite?
I'd have to say American Park Trails. That goes to Yellowstone, Mount Rushmore. You get to go to a dude ranch, cook marshmallows, make s'mores. But I have to get a little plug. If Canada opens, the Canadian Maritimes are fantastic. But if we stick with the good old USA, American Park Trails.
All right, I like that. And how about you, Josh? What would you say?
So I would say we have a trip called the Southwest Native Trails. It starts up in Santa Fe. And if you haven't been to Santa Fe, New Mexico, it is an amazing destination. And it kind of goes through the Four Corners, through Arizona. But the whole premise of the trip is to visit some of the indigenous communities along the way. And so we get to really immerse ourselves in some of the communities that are typically closed off to travelers. So it's a fantastic experience.
I love that. I'm telling you, I need to win the lottery. I don't know what I'm going to do, or I'm going to have to ask for a raise, one or the other. All right. And Jim, how about you? What would you say is your favorite tour or destination in the United States?
Absolutely. And folks, you've got so many great choices between all three of these companies. Like, again, all available through Expedia Cruises. I'm going to keep with the national parks theme. I can't help it. And it's going to be Glacier National Park, which, by the way, this year more than ever, very limited on space. It's only open June, July, August, and September. So you can still go for this year, or you can plan your trip for next year. But for me, traveling on the Empire Builder. It's one of the iconic trains, one of our Superliner double-decker trains. That was such a cool experience, being in my own bedroom during the journey. Again, the train station, folks, it's literally directly in front of Glacier Park Lodge, and they have huckleberry pie, which is iconic in the state of Montana and Idaho. I remember seeing on the menu bison bolognese. I mean, when do you see bison bolognese on most menus, right? So again, when in the destination, right? Which I think all three of us hopefully were able to capture tonight for all of you. So that would be my favorite choice.
All right. I love it. You know what, you guys? That was absolutely fantastic. You guys gave so many great tips. You showed so many different places in the United States that are available and open right now for travel, which I think is fantastic. So I just want to thank the three of you for taking the time to be with us today and really just giving us so much inspiration for our next vacation. So thank you so much for being here. Now, I cannot wait for my next travel adventure into the United States. I need that border to open. There are so many iconic landmarks and offbeat gems to discover. And I really had no idea. Like, I feel kind of stupid, but I'm shocked at how many amazing places there are. I don't even know where to start because the possibilities are endless. They really are. But today's presentation really has inspired me. And I hope that it's inspired everyone listening as well. So all of you that are on the call, I really hope today inspired you. Now, if you have any questions about any of the trips we talked about today or we learned about today, or if you're ready to go ahead and plan that next vacation, please reach out to your Expedia Cruises vacation consultant, and they will be more than happy to assist you. So with that, on behalf of our 300, that's right, 300 independently owned and locally operated Expedia Cruises locations are truly amazing vacation consultants. And on behalf of everyone at Expedia, I want to thank you for taking the time to be here today and for all of your support. It really does mean a lot, and we truly appreciate it. So with that, I just want to say stay safe, stay nice, and we really hope to see you all out exploring soon. So thank you. Bye, everybody.